There's a fine line between being self-aware and being self-destructive, and most people don't even realize when they've crossed it. You tell yourself you're just being honest, that you're keeping yourself in check. But underneath that honesty, there's a voice that sounds a lot less like awareness and a lot more like shame. The one that calls you lazy instead of tired. The one that turns reflection into punishment. This is where self-awareness gets confused with self-criticism, and it's a dangerous mix. Because being aware of your flaws isn't the same as hating yourself for having them. You can't grow from a place where you're constantly tearing yourself down. And if you've been stuck in that loop, trying to improve while secretly just hurting yourself more, it's not because you're weak, it's because no one taught you the difference. But psychology has, and once you see it, everything starts to shift. Real self-awareness starts with curiosity, not judgment. It asks, why did I react that way? Instead of, what's wrong with me? But self-criticism skips the questions. It rushes straight to a conclusion. And that conclusion is usually, I suck. Your brain thinks it's protecting you. That if you're hard on yourself first, no one else can hurt you. That if you punish yourself enough, you'll finally change. But what actually happens? You shut down. You overthink every move. You stop taking risks, not because you're lazy, but because you're scared of your own reaction if you mess up. And here's the problem. The more you criticize, the more you believe that criticism is truth. It doesn't matter if it's exaggerated or unfair. Say something to yourself enough times and it becomes your identity. And that identity, the one built on harshness, can't grow. It can only survive. The irony is, the more you beat yourself up, the more stuck you become. Because self-criticism doesn't actually motivate, it paralyzes. It shrinks your options down to two: be perfect or be worthless. And when perfection isn't possible, which it never is, you default to worthlessness. Self-awareness, on the other hand, opens space. It says, I made a mistake, instead of, I am a mistake. That sounds like a small shift, but psychologically it's huge. One keeps you trapped in shame, the other invites growth. But here's the catch. Self-awareness requires safety. You can't get curious about yourself if your inner world feels like a war zone. That's why this work starts with your tone. The way you talk to yourself, especially when you're struggling, is either a bridge or a barrier. And if every flaw is met with attack, don't be surprised when your brain stops showing you the truth. Self-awareness asks for honesty, yes, but also for compassion. Because if you can't hold both at once, your insight turns into injury. Think about it. When you notice a flaw in someone you care about, do you scream it at them? Do you call them names, mock their weakness, or tell them they'll never change? Of course not. You get curious. You stay kind. You give them room to figure it out. So why can't you do the same for yourself? That question alone can shift everything. Because real growth doesn't come from being hard on yourself. It comes from being real with yourself. Seeing your patterns clearly, understanding where they come from, and slowly, gently, deciding which ones still serve you. Most people skip this. They think change is about fixing everything quickly. But change that lasts? It starts with noticing, without punishing. It's easy to confuse self-awareness with self-doubt, especially if your inner voice has always leaned negative. If your first instinct is to look for what's wrong, not what's real. But self-awareness isn't about catching yourself slipping. It's about understanding why you slip in the first place, why you react a certain way, why you shut down, why you chase approval or run from rest or pretend you're fine when you're not. The more clearly you see your patterns, the more power you have to change them. But self-criticism skips the why. It labels, blames, and shuts the door. It says, you always do this, as if the pattern is your personality. But a pattern is just repetition, not identity. And when you start separating your reactions from your worth, things begin to loosen. You start to see that your worst moments aren't proof of who you are. They're messages about what still hurts. So what does healthy self-awareness actually look like in real life? It sounds like, that didn't go how I wanted. What was I feeling in that moment? Or, I keep repeating this. What am I getting out of it, and what am I afraid of? These aren't soft questions. They're courageous ones, because they force you to sit with discomfort without using shame as a shortcut. Self-awareness takes time. It's not about instant answers. It's about honest attention. And sometimes, what you'll notice isn't pretty, but it's real. And that reality is where change begins. Not in the part where you beat yourself up, but in the part where you hold space for truth and still say, I'm learning. That mindset doesn't let you off the hook. It puts you on the path. Growth without punishment, accountability without cruelty, reflection without collapse, that's self-awareness, and it's way more powerful than self-hate ever was. But don't expect the critical voice to disappear overnight. It's been with you for a long time. It probably even sounds like you. That's why shifting it takes more than logic. It takes repetition. New patterns, a different response practiced over and over until your brain starts to believe it. So the next time that voice says, "You're such a failure," pause. Notice it. Then answer with something it's not expecting. Maybe just, "I'm allowed to mess up," or "This doesn't define me." That might feel awkward at first, forced, but all new habits do. You're not lying to yourself. You're showing yourself a new path. And every time you choose that path, even once, you're building a version of you that isn't ruled by fear. A version that can face flaws without falling apart. That's what awareness builds, a kind of quiet strength. Not perfection, not constant confidence, just a stable, honest relationship with yourself. Self-awareness isn't a destination, it's a daily choice. A quiet, steady practice of meeting yourself where you are, not where you wish you were. It means being honest without being harsh, holding yourself accountable without erasing your humanity, and learning to sit with uncomfortable truths without turning them into weapons. The truth is, you don't become better by hating who you are. You grow by understanding who you've been, and offering that person a different kind of response. One that says, I see you, I get it, and we're doing things differently now. That's the shift. That's the work. It won't always feel like progress. Some days it'll feel like standing still. But even standing still is better than running in circles of self-blame. So start small. Start real. Not with a scream, but with a whisper. I don't need to attack myself to grow. I just need to listen and stay.